Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me. Welcome, thank you. I'm Professor Todd Oakley, of course. So I'm going to talk to you about what is cognitive science and some basic principles for a few slides, and then talk a little bit about the program that's very much like the program that is set up here, just to give you a sense of other institutions that are like yours. So what is cognitive science? Well, cognitive science is simply the systematic study of the human mind. So cognitive scientists are interested in how humans think. This is a huge question that has been addressed by many academic fields. The other thing I should emphasize in cognitive science, what you're really interested in is what typical human beings do. You look at other clinical populations, exceptions to rules, but you do that in part to see what that can reveal about more neurotypicality, how people as a whole think. And cognitive science tries to unite many different fields. It was very clear when cognitive science was born in the 1950s, late 1950s, that the way that individual disciplines were approaching the issues were not getting at some of the fundamental features of what it means to think and act and feel in a human environment. So this includes, and I say in alphabetic order without any particular privilege of one or the other, is anthropology, computer and data science, the neurosciences, the psychological sciences, linguistics and applied linguistic, philosophy, sociology, and certainly in the last decade, the arts have played an increasingly important role, the arts and humanities, in the cognitive science. Not just have humanists taken what cognitive scientists have been doing and applied it, but rather their work has shaped the agenda for further research in the cognitive sciences. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about are some what I'll call 4 basic facts or points of large consensus around the cognitive science as a discipline, or as a field, I should say. Now, like many social sciences, there's tons of disagreements, fundamental disagreements in the field, but these are points of what I would say emerging consensus. So the first we should note is that cognition is not perfect, but it's usually good enough. Human beings have run up against fundamental limits in attention, biological memory, and perceptual acuity. And this is important to understand. Part of that imperfection is what makes us unique as a species and makes us different from, say, machines. The other important point is that cognition cannot be understood reductively as just one thing or one process. So it is a complex intermingling of brain and body that is embedded in a physical and social environment. And increasingly in the last decade, the issue of the social environment and how we've built an environment for socializing is becoming an increasingly important part of the agenda of understanding human cognition. Humans are what we would call in biology, in evolutionary biology, niche constructors par excellence. We actually create environments, and more to that, we create information-rich environments that allow us to do things both individually and collectively that we could never do without those environments. So that actually the external world is increasingly being seen not as some mere causal implementation of our cognition, but actually a constitutive or a genuine constituent feature of cognition. So that's important to understand. Third, cognition is hard to faithfully reproduce in a machine because of these first two. Now, it is very important in this moment to understand that AI has outstripped many of our expectations in terms of expert systems, such that the great concern now is that there's many things that are AI generated that we can't actually tell are AI generated. So the ambiguity between is this a human or is this a machine is an ongoing and pressing concern. But we shouldn't worry about Terminator scenarios right now because, well, who knows, but generally speaking, the notion of phenomenal consciousness, which is what makes human beings human, is still something that no machine has been able to do in any way, and I don't see that in the offing. So the notion that machines will, the other point is human beings are going to destroy human beings before machines destroy human beings. So that would be my optimistic point there. That does not mean that AI is not central. It's central to, it's an ongoing concern, but there's still a lot of the things that we have to do in the cognitive sciences are not just looking about can machines think like us, but should they, and what kinds of social systems and institutions are they embedded in that help us think and do things and may help and may impede human flourishing. These are ongoing ethical considerations that are also at the heart of people who are working in the cognitive science. And finally, cognition is connected, complex, and stable, but fragile. This is where lots of things happen to human beings: neurodegenerative disorders, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, developmental disorders, and everyday slips of memory and other things that happen. So again, this is an important area because it can illuminate the ways in which, what are the things that are internally cognitive to us, and what are the things that we require support from the outside. This internal, external debate has been ongoing in cognitive science for a long time, but certainly understanding how we're fragile in certain ways, both in terms of our biological memory and attention and perceptual systems, but also in creating systems and institutions that are very powerful, but for which we don't really quite understand how they work, is very much an agenda item in the cognitive sciences. Okay, so that's sort of cognitive science in a nutshell, a la 21st century. It looked very different 20 years or even 10 years earlier, which is, I think, a good thing. Okay, so I'm from the Department of Cognitive Science at Case Western Reserve University. When we started, we're the newest program and department in the College of Arts and Sciences. We were founded in 2006, had our first 2005, had our first classes in 2006, and we've been going strong. We're one of the 3 largest majors, undergraduate majors at our university. And a lot of our majors double major, so they combine cognitive science with the humanities, cognitive science with engineering, computer science, biomedical engineering, cognitive science and law, cognitive science and other disciplines going forward. Our department focuses on higher order human cognition, in particular human beings' remarkable and sophisticated capacities for creativity, innovation, communication, and social cognition. Our research emphases include the workings of the human mind in multimodal communication, design, I teach a course called Design and Cognition sometimes, art and technology, the origins of higher order human cognition, interaction of brain and culture in development and evolution, the role of the body and social interaction in shaping human cognition, and the operation of systems that human beings have invented to guide their thought and action both individually and collectively. So that's quite a a panoply of broad concerns that find different research and teaching possibilities in our department and our university. The Department of Cognitive Science makes use of traditional methods in linguistics, neuroscience, psychology, philosophy, biology, and anthropology, along with new integrated methods that have been invented within cognitive science over the last several years. More importantly, we now have interact with the High Performance Computing Center with a new applied data science minor that many of our students take as in addition to studying cognitive science. We do a lot of corpus linguistics with broadcast news and other from around the world that allows us to capture big data in language use. When I was learning linguistics, you basically thought of grammatical sentences to yourself and you varied them and you varied them. And now you can find thousands and thousands, put it in R and see what is more frequent or what is not. So the ability to make more robust conclusions based on larger data sets is ever growing. So currently, the department offers 2 degrees. We have a Bachelor of Arts in Cognitive Science and a Master of Arts in Cognitive Linguistics. So it's a linguistics focus in our graduate program. But our near-term goal is to develop, with allied departments in communication sciences, neuroscience, computer science, and others, an interdisciplinary doctoral program in cognition, language, and communication. And I think that ends my presentation. Thank you.